Hey everyone, this is Pete, and welcome back to Atari ST A to Z, a series of short playthroughs of Atari ST games, some which I grew up with and some which are new to me. Today is one of the former. Today we are looking at Welltris. This was a 1989 release designed by the original creator of Tetris, Alexey Pajitnov, and it was ported to Atari ST in 1990. And the basic gist of Welltris is that it provides a twist on Tetris by presenting the whole thing in 3D. So rather than looking on at a two-dimensional well from the side, you're looking down on it from the top. So you can move things around the walls, and then your aim is to create horizontal and vertical lines across the base of the well without overlapping any of the walls. And this is quite an interesting game to me because it was very well received at its time of original release, but it's been mostly forgotten today because sort of Tetris has endured so well that its various sequels and spin-offs and that sort of thing, they tend to not be taken all that seriously. But this was actually a pretty neat game at the time, so I've been keen to revisit it. Before we jump into playing it though, this is one that I do actually have a packaged copy of. It's in very good nick actually, so yeah, let's take a look. So this was published by Infogrames over here. And it's got this wonderfully sort of pretentious packaging here. The front cover says Matrice, Pathway of Science, Profondeur Irreal, Supervision, Absolute Skyline, Control, Anticipation, Mirar Immobile, Equation, Horizon, Opalescence, Abstraction, Magic Square, Multiple Surfaces, Colors, Mirar du Vide, Unreal Abyss, Espace, Lightness, Reflection, Purity, Transparence, Mineral, Étoile. No idea what that's going on about, but there you go. So on the back here we are. Master the colours, rule space. After the fabulous international hit Tetris, join Alexey Pajitnov, grand mathematician of the Soviet Academy of Sciences, and take up his new challenge, Welltris. Control the falling pieces, move the volumes, and master space. 3 levels of difficulty: beginner, advanced, expert. 3D perspective, various game speeds, scoring system with top 10 recorded, and a game 100% glasnost. God knows what that means. Yeah, so this was actually marketed as part of the same collection of games as The Light Corridor, which we saw quite early in this series, and another game called Alpha Waves as well, which I don't remember a ton about, but I vaguely remember seeing some advertising for it. It's also quite nice if you look at the screenshots on the back here. We've got some sort of very Russian-inspired imagery here. That is, I believe, an image of Alexey Pajitnov himself as well. So the sort of gameplay in this was accompanied by various visuals, and it was one of those games where as you progress through the game you unlock new artwork, and that was sort of your incentive to progress. So inside that slipcase we got this lovely shiny Infogrames box here, and inside that, if I can get it open, because I think it's been at least 30 years since I opened this box. Yeah, here we are. So we got the game on a single disc, so supposedly works on Atari ST and STE. It's a single-sided disc, so you don't need a fancy disc drive or anything like that. Then we've got a guarantee card here, as usual, that you can fill out and guaranteed or something like that. Yeah, it's like the previous Infogrames one we had. You have just purchased a program. Thank you. We make the following suggestions to give a long life to our high-quality program. Store the program in its original box. Do not expose this program to a source of heat or magnetic fields, and so on. All right. And then we got the manual, which is in 4 languages, because Infogrames was a European company, and so they sort of tried to cater to as wide an audience as possible. So inside the manual, introduction. Welltris, another challenge to the Western world from the Russian game master Alexey Pajitnov, the author of Tetris. Alexey Pajitnov, the famous mathematician and member of the Soviet Academy of Sciences, has the privilege to program and design his games on his own personal computer, which is still rare in the Soviet Union. Yeah, this is something that often gets forgotten today, is like he was putting this stuff together while the USSR was still a thing, while sort of communism was still a thing, while it was still the Soviet Union rather than Russia and so on. So yeah, kind of fascinating from that perspective. Pajitnov hopes to travel someday, including trips to Japan, the United States, Western Europe. The international success of his games can only help his hopes come true. A bit of emotional blackmail there, Infogrames, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he eventually realised that. So we've then got some loading instructions. Not all that interesting. The bottom of each page we've actually got, I assume that's copy protection or something like that, but it's got various bits of the USSR with some facts about them. So you've got things like Armenia, The area is 11,500 square miles and the capital is Yerevan, and so on. Yeah, so there's a whole lot of information about setting it up, and it goes on for like 5 pages on how to load the game, and it's not that complicated. So, on to the object of the game. The object of Welltris is to manipulate the game pieces falling down the side of the well so that they get to the bottom and fit amongst the game pieces already at the bottom. When segments of game pieces form a line, either horizontal or vertical at the bottom of the well, the line disappears, giving you more room to fit in more pieces. As long as you have pieces falling and room at the bottom of the well, the game continues. And that's that basically. So, yeah, the idea of Welltris is not that you mustn't fill up the well, but you mustn't overlap the wall. So when you drop something into the bottom of the well, it's got to be entirely on the base of the well. Otherwise, you'll block off that wall and you won't be able to use it anymore. So we've got a few strategies as well. Use the whole well. Do not get mentally stuck on one wall of the well. Yeah, I remember that being quite an easy thing to do. Use all 4 walls and keep the game pieces moving. Continually check them for where they land. Build blocks of game pieces and leave space for awkward pieces. And then at the end of the game you get points for successfully bringing pieces to the floor of the well. And so on. And then we're on to French. So, yeah, and that's Welltris. So, without further ado, let's go play Welltris. Okay, here we are with Welltris, the official sequel to Tetris by Alexey Pajitnov. So this was originally developed by a company called Doka, who worked with Bulletproof software. To release it in 1989, and this was then ported to Atari ST and various other platforms by a company called Sphere, and that was then published by Spectrum, Holobyte, Infogrames, various other companies around the world. And yeah, like I say, this is a game that isn't remembered very much these days, but I remember it being pretty cool back in the day. So let's see if I can remember how to play it. So here we are. So, unlike regular Tetris, you are looking down on this from the top rather than looking at it from the side. And you can move your piece all around the perimeter of this well. You can rotate it, as in regular Tetris. And you can hit the spacebar to drop it. And when you drop it, it then slides across the bottom of the well until it reaches either the opposite wall or a block that's in its way. And your aim is to create lines, as always. And those lines can be either horizontal or vertical. And that's it, really. I mean, it's, in terms of concept, it is as simple as Tetris was. It's just presented and laid out very differently. So it takes a bit of adjusting to, as you can probably imagine. But once you kind of get a feel for how it works and how this control scheme works, because yeah, it is a slightly fiddly control scheme, which was sort of the main criticism of it at the time of its original release. Once you get your head around that, yeah, there's a really interesting and compelling puzzle game in here that I remember my mum liking a lot. She always enjoyed Tetris, and so obviously a game that took the Tetris formula and did something a little bit different with it was always going to be something that she'd like. Oh god, where should I put that? It's not optimal, but let's put it there for now. Yeah, so the other interesting twist on the formula to have in this is that the pieces don't always come from the same place. So like you'll see, they appear from different sides of the well. And so you can never quite predict where things are going to come from. There's also certain features in this that we take for granted in modern Tetris that just aren't a thing in this. So like, for example, in modern Tetris, you're probably used to being able to I blocked that wall off. I thought that was going to fall down again, but it did not. I may have screwed myself. Yeah, so in modern Tetris, when a piece lands, you've got a brief split second to continue moving it. You don't have that in this. So once a piece is dropped, it's... Oh no! Misjudged. I think I may have to start over. Oh, you can release them. That's good. Although I think I've really put myself in a difficult position now. Let's see what we can do though. Okay, so the walls don't stay blocked, I guess. Sorry if you heard that enormous sneeze from my wife just then. Yeah, and then they can fall back down again, so you can clear out those walls again. So, okay, so it's not quite as harsh as I thought it was. I mean, it's still pretty tricky, but... Where to put that one? I can make a line there. May as well do that, try and clear up a bit. There we go. Oh, that's a really awkward layout though, isn't it? Where is that going to go? It's going to go down here. Very nice. And then this will slot in nicely there. Oh, I thought that was longer than it was. It is not that long. This one is though. So I could pop that one in there. Yes, this is a game that makes you go a lot. You'll notice that not all of the pieces are tetraminos as well. So they're not all made up of 4 squares. So for example, we've got a little L-shaped piece that is only made of 3 here. And I believe later on there are also pieces that consist of more than 4 blocks as well. So like you have some really awkward shaped pieces to have to deal with. Somehow I doubt we're going to get that far, but you never know. I'm already doing quite a bit better than I expected given that early performance. Well, there goes that wall. I hope I didn't need that. Yeah, so more sort of generally speaking, this is the kind of presentation of this game is fairly typical of... Why can't I move that? Because I'm pressing the wrong direction. That's why, because of these stupid clunky controls. Yeah, the presentation of this is fairly typical of Infogrames at the time. So, good quality, low resolution 16 colour graphics, all digital sounds. And just pretty slick presentation all around, really, considering the hardware. Oh, I don't know where to put that one. Maybe over here. I realise I'm displaying utterly laughable Welltris skills here, but like I said in the intro, I'm pretty sure it's like a good 30 years since I played this game, so cut me some slack. Bonus piece. Right, I think this is one of the hideously awkward ones. Yeah, look at that. Look at that stupid monstrosity. Actually, you will fit there quite nicely, won't you? There we go. Okay, so I guess the bonus piece is a signal that you're about to beat a level. Not entirely sure what decides that, if it's time-based or lines-based or based on the number of pieces you drop. But yeah, here we are. We're now on level 1. I think we were on level 1 anyway. That's just the skill level, and I think we've moved up to the... Oh, damn it. I think we've moved up to the next speed, is the thing. So it's now going a bit faster. So yeah, this is sort of... Oops. This is sort of traditional Tetris rules, if you like. So there's no sort of end goal. You just keep playing until you can't. Just try and survive as long as possible. Marathon mode, if you will. I've got nowhere I can put that, really. That's going to have to go there and block off that. Oh, no, that made a line. That's good. It's not ideal. Definitely not ideal. Actually, that will fit up there. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Yeah. Well, like I say, I have actually survived a lot longer than I expected to. Because I remember liking this game as a kid, but I also remember not being very good at it. It actually took me quite a while to get my head around basic Tetris. Largely because we didn't really have our own copy of it until quite late in its lifetime, so my exposure to it in the early days was relatively limited. In fact, I have a feeling that I played this before I played Tetris. Because we certainly didn't have Tetris on the Atari ST or the Atari 8-bit. And I didn't get a Super NES until quite late. Didn't get a Game Boy until quite late either. So yeah, I think this might actually have been my first exposure to this kind of puzzle game. And yeah, although it's neat, it's probably not where I'd recommend someone to start with this, just because there's so much to think about with this one. It's very tricky, and I can't even begin to think about making large chains and combos and multi-line monstrosities in this. It's pretty crazy. Still, we survived this long so far. I've actually done a reasonable job of clearing out that disaster that was happening, which is nice. You can go there. You can go there. Oh, that's quite nice. That's looking quite neat and tidy there now, isn't it? Two rows. Lovely. I am Welltris Pro. I'm not Welltris Pro. Not entirely sure of the rules of how the stuff moves. It almost feels like it sort of gets sucked towards the middle. I'm not sure of the exact rules that determine how that works, and if you can sort of plan for that and set up chain reactions and stuff. I guess maybe it sort of falls in the direction that you drop the piece from, I think. Yeah, because look, that sort of, they sort of came in towards the middle. We've got another bonus piece. Are we going to finish another level? We are. Speed 3. Yeah, I'm getting a feel for this now. One thing I haven't mentioned is that you play this with a keyboard, which is actually quite unusual for an Atari ST game. It's sort of expected by most games that you have a joystick available to you. So like, the Atari ST didn't ship with a joystick or anything like that, but it was just sort of kind of expected that you'd have one. You can go there. But yeah, this is one of only a few games I can think of that actually required you to use the keyboard, I believe. I don't know, actually. Let me try the joystick. No, joystick doesn't work at all. So yeah, you have to use the keyboard in this. So like I say, it was quite unusual for the time. On that platform, anyway. I know certainly platforms like the Commodore 64 and the Spectrum, using the keyboard was kind of the norm. But once we got into the 16-bit era, and I certainly like the Amiga was the same situation as the ST, so it was assumed that if you were going to be playing games, you would have a joystick available. Not an unreasonable assumption. But in actual fact, the keyboard controls in this work pretty nicely, because they're precise and accurate. It means that you can sort of move as many steps as you need to without overshooting or anything like that. So they're nice and accurate, and that's what you want in a game like this, really. You want to know that your pieces are going to go where you want them to go. See, like, here's the problem with the fact that you can't slide them once they drop. It's like, in current Tetris games, I could slide that a little while, but you can't sort of slide it once it's... Oh no! You can't slide it once it's stopped, is the thing. So like, that one lands there, and I can't sort of then shift that one to the side. So if I've made that mistake, which I have now, that's pretty much a disaster and has ruined almost everything. Well, I think we're boned. All because of my silly arrogance. Never mind. Anyway, top the high score table, and that's all that counts. So yeah, that was Welltris by Alexey Pajitnov. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please help out the channel by leaving a like or a comment and subscribing. New episodes of Atari A to Z are on Tuesdays and Atari ST A to Z on Thursdays. Check out atari-a-to-z.wordpress.com for a full archive. Do please also check out my other projects moegamer.net, where I explore Japanese and Japanese-inspired games from yesterday and today, and videopackgames.wordpress.com, which aims to catalogue a small but well-formed library of the Philips G7000 Videopack computer, also known as the Magnavox Odyssey 2. You can also support my work on Patreon or buy me a coffee. You can find links to do both down in the video description. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.